out there, I'm Barbara Rich, and welcome to another episode of Bifocals. This episode we're going to concentrate on TV, sometimes referred to as the small screen.
Now, ordinarily we do movie reviews and we talk about travel and things of that nature, but because of the nature of this particular show and because of one of the guests that we're going to have on, in fact a couple of the guests will have some podcasts as well we're going to include, we're going to focus on television today. You know, the TV, which now is the most needed and relied upon device in the world, started in the 1920s as this little experiment, basically, and now everybody has to have one. We did a show recently called The Best Way to Watch a Movie, for instance, and one of the people who is in the article that we also published in L&L magazine, Andy Shupak, has a company called Festival of Films, and his answer is the best way to watch a movie is for free. Along the same line is a company called Turner Classic Movies, and they show films, old films basically, but all on television and without commercial interruption. So the television really has become a very, very important item for us, all the way up to the starting in the 1950s pretty much, when I was just a baby. But do you happen to remember the advent of television?
Yes, I do. I remember everybody sitting so close to this large unit of furniture with a comparatively small screen and watching Texaco and Milton Berle, and well, that was it. I mean, you had like two shows or one show to watch, and you were just glued to that TV. And
right now, of course, the FDR special has been on.
That was magnificent. That was great.
And he started the fireside chats with radio, but then Kennedy, of course, utilized the television and brought his message right into everybody's home. And of course, it's been with us through the Vietnam War, etc., and it's been very, very important project. I mean, I can remember our first television. Of course, the first color TV was like it was like an event for the entire neighborhood. Would come over and see color on television, But now, of course, we have Netflix. The Emmys is a special event for just television stars, etc., and as well as other aspects of television. So we're going to cover a little bit of that stuff today on this show. But you also did an interview recently with someone. I wasn't there, but
yes, legendary record producer Lee Silver.
Okay. Let's go to that clip.
I'm sitting here with legendary record producer Lee Silvers. Lee, why don't you tell us how you got started?
It's nice being here with you, Barbara. And I started when I was either 5 or 6 years old. My loving sister, who was older than me, taught me how to sing Alexander's Ragtime Band, and I did that in the 6th grade on the stage. And of course, music was in me, and as I got older, I started to write. And then, of course, I went into the Army, and while in the Army, I was stationed in Nashville, and I was a guy from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn originally, and I loved country music, and that wasn't well known in Brooklyn at that time. But I was stationed in Nashville, and I fell in love with country music, and I started writing country music as well. And when I came out of the Army, I wrote a song called I'm Keeping My Heart Away from Fire. And Les Paul and Mary Ford were appearing at the New York Paramount, and I waited for Les Paul to come out the stage door, and I said, Mr. Paul, I've got a song for you. And he says, give it to me, son. And it was recorded on Capitol 3 weeks later. And I was just thrilled with that. And that started the whole thing going. Then I started to write and do demos of all my songs because I was able to sing as well, which I was thankful of. And not many writers can sing. So, in fact, I was on 2 recording labels. I was on Liberty Records and Dot Records under another name, Buddy Stewart, which I acquired for certain reasons, and which I'll go into. But I had that song recorded on Capitol, and then I started getting calls from friends of mine who had bands, and they were quartets, and they asked me to produce them, which I did. In fact, I produced a group called the Four Guys in 1953 or 54, and that was the first interracial group, 2 black guys and 2 white guys. And that record started to make a lot of noise in Cleveland, and I got a call from Bill Randall, who was the #1 disc jockey there, and I went to Cleveland, and the record was breaking, and I turned it over to a distributor and did that. And then I did my own songs and put them on a shelf. When I recorded something, I just put it away because I didn't want to be a recording artist. I didn't want to be on the road. So I decided I'm just going to produce my own songs and sing on them. And in many instances, I brought them to record companies and they took them. Now, the reason why I changed the name from Lee Silver as a recording artist, because when I went to the record companies, I wrote the songs, produced them, published them, and if I said I was also the artist singing, they wanted 50% of everything I did. So to avoid that, I changed the name on the recordings. And that name stuck with me as when the records were finally released on the labels, they came out as Buddy Stewart. And now, fortunately, my songs and my recordings that I did 45 years ago are being used in film and TV, and we just had a couple of songs on Mad Men. We had songs on Breaking Bad and songs I've written and under the name of Buddy Stewart.
Wow. But tell me, Lee, how did you get connected with Jersey Boys?
I had written some songs. This was 1955, 1956, and I was living in California at that time, in Los Angeles. And I traveled to New York, and I had 4 songs with me, and I wanted to get them recorded. And I knew the New York area very well because I was originally from New York. And I interviewed a couple of bands, and one of the bands was called the Royals. And Bob Gaudio was in that. And another very talented guy called Billy Crandall, who played saxophone on his knees. Wow. And they were all about 17 years old at that time, average 17-year-old. So I listened to them, and I said, that's the band I want to record my songs with. And we recorded my songs with them, and then we had more studio time, so we recorded Short Shorts.
Oh, darn.
And one of the gals was in the studio, and we used her for a background, and we recorded Short Shorts. Now, Short Shorts, Bob Gaudio, who was the key factor in that, he played piano and one of the writers. And, of course, Short Shorts was a very big record. I released it on my label, turned it over to ABC Paramount. Dick Clark did not want to play it. And then when I turned it over to ABC Records, Dick Clark played it because they were the same network.
Right.
And at that time, the record came out and it was big. And then I recorded Bob Gaudio with another song called Believe Me, which was very big on Capitol Records. It came out and it was #1 in Italy, #1 in San Francisco, because it had an Italian melody to it. So we had 2 big records with them, but then I had to go back to California and stay there. And Bob Gaudio, I gave him a release, and then he went with the Four Seasons. He was, you know, just roaming around for a year or so, and he went with the Four Seasons, and he started writing with them, all the songs. And of course, the Four Seasons were happening, and then they developed Jersey Boys.
Who wears short shorts?
So tell me, how did Short Shorts get into Jersey Boys?
Well, Bob Gaudio was one of the key players on Short Shorts, and he loved the song, and it was a big song. So he was the one who was producing the show, so he decided he wanted Short Shorts in the show. So it was in a very successful show, one of the biggest shows, and went into the movie. And Clint Eastwood was very smart. He used the original record in the movie.
Tell us more about other acts that you were connected with.
Herb Alpert and I became very close when I had the song Baby Talk. He came over my house, and I liked Herb, and he asked if he could record the song, and I says, go ahead, record it. I was the publisher of the song, and that was a big hit, #1. And Herb Alpert and I, after that, became very close. We formed a record company together, and of course, I sang on a song that he played piano and sang with me, and that song is going into a current movie, the kidnapping of the heir of Heineken, and that's going to be a very big movie. And then I produced some R&B records with the Pentagons, To Be Loved, which is a classic doo-wop song, which went on to the Women of Brewster Place. And I discovered Bobby Hart, who came to me as Bobby Harshman. I changed his name to Bobby Hart, and he became the producer with Boyce, Tommy Boyce, of the Monkees. And of course, I worked with Jody Reynolds, who was a legendary rockabilly artist with a million seller called Endless Sleep. So these are the people I work with mainly. And all my things that were on the shelf of Buddy Stewart came alive with cable and TV within the last 5 years. I had the Buddy Stewart song of 99 Pounds of Dynamite, In the Valley of the Sun, in Breaking Bad, we had it in Damages, we had the songs in Mad Men.
Yeah, they're all current
all these
TV,
shows were using my songs that I produced and songs that I sang on as Buddy Stewart. And we also have many songs in this show, which is a very popular show with the younger generation, Diaries of the Vampires, or Vampire Diaries, I don't know what it's called. But there are some of the songs that are in there that I've written 50 years ago under the name of Buddy Stewart.
Lee, I know you don't do interviews on camera, so we appreciate you doing this.
I get a lot of calls from all over the country with disc jockeys wanting to interview me on radio. But I never had the opportunity to do it visually. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at one time called me, wanted me to fly to Cleveland and do something for them. But this is the first one I've done.
Well, we're very honored.
And thank you, Barbara, for the wonderful interview.
Our pleasure, I'm sure. We're going to take a pause right now. Don't go away.